everyone, this is Dr. Karen, and this is part 2 of my story about my Cushing's journey. In part 1, I took you through my journey with Cushing's disease, including the diagnostic process, seeking a team of specialists 3,000 miles away from my home in Seattle, Washington, and ultimately having brain surgery on November 16th, 2011. Since then, I want to let you all know that I am currently in remission from Cushing's disease. However, I do have another disease, and it's called Addison's disease. You see, on August 21st, 2013, I had a life-saving surgery called a bilateral adrenalectomy. This is where I had both of my adrenal glands removed, and this was done in order to save my life from Cushing's. I won't get into all the medical stuff, but what I will say is that because of those circumstances that were involved, having a second brain surgery was not a viable option. The only viable option and the last resort for me was to have the bilateral adrenalectomy. I had no other choice, and time was of the essence. About a year into remission after my brain surgery, I began having symptoms again, and after 7 months of testing all over again, it was confirmed that I did in fact have a recurrence of Cushing's disease. At that time, I was very sick. I spent 99% of my time in bed. I was non-functional, and I needed help 24/7. Time was of the essence, and we couldn't drag this out any longer. My children needed me. My husband needed me. My loved ones were scared for me, and we knew that I had to get this done. And so on August 21st, 2013, I did have my adrenal glands removed. I want to briefly explain something to you. Your adrenal glands are vital organs that sit on top of your kidneys, and they have multiple functions and produce multiple hormones. But two of the life-sustaining hormones that they produce include aldosterone and cortisol. Aldosterone is a hormone that helps you maintain healthy blood pressure levels. It does this by helping you balance potassium and sodium. This is vitally important to sustaining life and maintaining health. Your cortisol is also extremely important. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and it's also your fight or flight hormone. It helps you to regulate and deal with both emotional and physical stress. When I had that last surgery, it cut off my body's ability to produce cortisol at all, and it left me in a place of adrenal insufficiency. For people with adrenal insufficiency, we cannot produce cortisol on our own, and this is vitally important. You see, in a normal person whose body responds naturally, your body will produce up to 10 times the amount of your baseline cortisol in order to compensate for any type of physical or emotional trauma or stress. It does this to prevent the body from going into shock. But in a person like myself, or in a person who's adrenally insufficient, our bodies cannot do that. We depend on steroids in order to replace our cortisol levels. So this is extremely important. I want to say that it hasn't always been easy. Life has definitely been a learning curve for me. I've had to learn my triggers for stress. I've had to learn the signs and symptoms of adrenal crisis, and I've had to learn when my body needs more cortisol. These are things that I took for granted because, again, your body just naturally does what it's supposed to do if you're functioning with a normal body. However, things that I never thought even stressed me out previously, I am learning that I have physiological responses to, and it's naturally because my body just did what it was supposed to do previously, and now I have to consciously always be aware of and be in tune with what my body is doing. So this goes for both good and bad stress. And this can include anything from an infection to a car accident, even to a bad argument. There are a lot of things that fall into this category. Even going to a party or an event can increase your need for more cortisol. So these are things that I have had to learn. With that said, I want to encourage anyone out there who is considering a bilateral adrenalectomy in order to save your life from Cushing's disease. I want to encourage you that life continues. Continue to become educated about Addison's and adrenal insufficiency. Make an informed decision. Get all the knowledge that you can get. And do what it takes to save your life. I also want to speak to those of you who are out there with adrenal insufficiency concerning your loved ones. Please be open and honest with your loved ones. Oftentimes we tend to put up a front or put on a face and say that everything's okay all the time, but it's not always okay. I want you to be a self-advocate, but I also want you to have an advocate who's a loved one, who can be your voice in times of crisis. When you present to the ER, if you are confused, lack judgment, which are signs of adrenal crisis, or sometimes even lose consciousness, you need someone who can speak up for you and let them know that you need treatment immediately. I want you to inform your loved ones of your emergency kit, including your life-saving steroid injection, should you need it in the event of an adrenal crisis. This is vitally important. It always makes me emotional when I think about this or talk about this, but we have lost several precious lives in the community, loved ones who were so precious to us. And, you know, a lot of the time their loved ones just simply didn't know what they needed, or what their needs were, what they should do in times of a crisis. Because most of the time we look healthy, people forget about us, and you know, they maybe don't necessarily forget about us, but they think that we're doing okay all the time, and sometimes we take that for granted. But I just want to encourage you to just be open and honest. And with that said, we're victorious. We're warriors. Keep fighting. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of us as a community. Please help me to continue to increase awareness by liking and sharing our documentary page, which is listed below. Keep fighting the good fight. We are indomitable.